Hey there, and welcome back to another Fruits Basket review. And here we are, at long last, the final episode. And I'm in two minds about this. I'm very excited to dive into how the different story arcs get wrapped up, and I do love the feel of finales. But at the same time, when the finale ended and the credits rolled, I honestly felt dead inside and I had to take some serious time to mourn this awesome series. Considering this is the finale, I don't think I have to give my regular warning for future spoilers, as this is obviously the last episode. But I won't really be drawing comparisons between the manga and the anime. This is mostly so I can keep the reviews streamlined, and it allows anime-only fans to watch along and join in too. That being said though, let's get started on the episode. We start off the finale watching Kyo and Toru's first date at the zoo, where we find the pair observing a bunch of miniature ponies. They have a bit of cute banter about how the pony resembles a mini Reen, and wondering what they should visit next, only to be interrupted by Uotani and Hanajima, who begin to mock Kyo's choice of the date spot, calling him an idiot and that the zoo's boring, as well as calling him a coward and swearing at him and lamenting that there's no giraffes at this zoo. And true though, what kind of zoo has ponies but no giraffes? And also has a cat petting zoo area? Maybe this is commonplace in Japan, but for me, it's a very bizarre zoo. At least in my experience. Also, poor Kyo, finally free of the Zodiac curse, but not free of the curse of overprotective friends. It's funny to watch, but it also inspires a deep, deep feeling of cringe. Toru then tells them that they should go to the cat petting area, and suddenly the two are much happier with that suggestion, before she informs them that in fact, the zoo was her idea for the date. And this causes them to reveal that they were just messing with Kyo because they enjoy it so much. And to me, this just feels unnecessarily harsh. Gate crashing somebody's first date and making them look like a fool to the person they're trying to woo. I'm gonna guess they don't really like the idea of sharing with Kyo. I gotta say though, this beginning really took me back to the early episodes of the show, with lighthearted activities and interactions between the characters. It felt very typical of the series, which was really nice to enter into with it being the final episode. Anyway, in the cat house, the girls all bond with the cats, with Toru and Uotani getting swarmed, whilst Hanajima bonds with an evil-looking black cat. I also like that the cats left Kyo alone completely, with the only one that approached him looking at him for a second before backing off again. It was almost like it could tell he used to be like them, but he wasn't anymore because the cat spirit had left him. Either way though, it'd be kinda sad for all the cats to just not like you. Poor Kyo. Kyo then thinks about how after he confessed to Toru and his curse broke, Toru picked up the beads of his old bracelet, and how he doesn't really understand why she picked them up, but understands that loving somebody means that you need to accept their past and future selves, not just the present. And it really just proves why Toru is the perfect girl for Kyo. Not only does she love him for him, but she accepted him as his cursed monster form, even if she was afraid, and said that she's excited to see who he's going to become. Her character pretty much embodies the whole speech that he makes. And then we begin to have our final farewells to a bunch of the different characters that we've come to love over the past couple seasons. We start off by seeing Kakeru and Yuki hanging out at what I assume is Kakeru's place, and discussing how Yuki's gotten into a college a fair distance away and that he'll be living alone. Kakeru seems a bit worried about this and quips that he'd hate to find his corpse when he comes for a visit. And yeah, considering how inept Yuki and Shigure are at general chores and cooking, I can understand why this would be an issue. And despite Yuki's belief that doing is the best way to learn, it feels like making edible food is a little bit too much to ask for him. And after asking whether Machi knows about Yuki's plans, Kakeru then makes some crude insinuations about whether Yuki's enjoying adulthood. And I've got to be honest, Kakeru is one of the most realistic characters in the show. This little interaction is one of those conversations that almost every teenage boy I've ever met has been a part of. And it's always as awkward as it seems. Love it. And then Machi arrives, and of course Kakeru tries his best to make things awkward again, with even more banter that has been lifted straight out of every teenager's life, before repeating his question to Machi and copying a brutal face-melting punch. Love it. Back at the zoo, the gang are heading out after a long day of walking, and whilst the three girls seem to have had a good time, Kyo pretty much looks dead inside by this point. After Toru runs off to the bathroom, Kyo ponders how Hanajima is always able to dress so heavily, even in hot weather. And in response, she reads his mind and tells him that she does it through sheer force of will. She then tells Kyo that he's taking Toru away from them and is obviously sad about it, even though she knew this day was coming. And then she gets hyper intense and tells him that she'll never forgive him unless he starts calling her mama. Is it a dominance thing? A weird fetish? Or is she stating her intentions to seduce his dad? Who knows? I doubt Kyo even knows. Poor Kyo. Uotani then says they'll stop giving him a hard time and then they actually really like him, even if he is dumb. Gotta keep him in his place, I guess. But they say that in all seriousness that Toru's like their family and thus they're counting on Kyo to take care of them for her, echoing Kyo's promise to Kyoko. We then hear from Toru about how their graduation went well and how they're all preparing for the next stage of their lives and to move away from home, setting up a little time skip. Seriously, this is a fair distance in the future. It seems like we've gone through pretty much a whole year in just 13 episodes, considering the graduation of the previous year was in one of the early episodes. It would have been nice to watch some of the more mundane and slice of life moments in between, but obviously it wouldn't have pushed the plot forward at all. Also, side note, Kyo is wearing a tie. Nice. We then see Kyo and Toru finishing off cleaning out Toru's room in preparation for moving out, with Toru reflecting that she's enjoyed every moment she's spent in the house and giving us a little montage of classic moments from across the 3 seasons. Little montages like this in finales always get me. Honestly, the big dramatic and heartfelt moments are so satisfying, but I find that you love the smaller moments more almost. It's really sad that the house will be empty and we won't see them all joking around and they won't be living together anymore. Toru then reflects that it's sad to say goodbye to those memories before Kyo embraces her and tells her that everybody loves her and that they won't be gone forever. That this is the start of a new promise, a new banquet. And then, Toru's tummy rumbles as she gets embarrassed and the scene moves on. We then return to Yuki and Machi at Machi's apartment, where Yuki gives Machi a key to his new apartment so that she can visit whenever and not be afraid that he's cheating on her at college. She of course tries to act all stoic and calls him ridiculous for thinking she'd think that, but as he takes away the key she freaks out, tells him she was lying, and does need the key for peace of mind. Once again, it's night and day between seasons 1 to 2 Yuki and this Yuki now. It's almost like he's a downplayed mix between Ayame, Shigure and Kakeru. His character's come such a long way, and his development feels earned, and not like they've transplanted a new personality after he resolved his issues. It took time for him to grow, and it's honestly a testament to the writing. Afterwards, Machi asks whether he'll be leaving soon, to which Yuki replies that he still has time, and that the others leave the next day, and that makes him sad. She replies that she feels the same, but that she'll catch up to him one day. And I liked this little interaction. They really captured that melancholy feeling of graduating high school and being excited about the next stage of your life, whilst also being sad that everything's going to change and the people you know won't be around as often anymore. We then moved on to a scene between Kagura and Ritsu, who are probably the 2 least developed of all the Zodiac members. And so it was pretty hard for me to actually care about this scene. They discuss how Shigure's quit being a novelist, much to his editor's joy, and they speculate whether it's because he just wants to be with Akito. But in my opinion, it's because he's lazy and now he can live that trust fund life easily since he's dating the head of the family. There's not really else much of note from this scene, except for the fact that Kagura is still jealous of Toru, but despite that, she knows that she and Kyo are going to be happy. Also interesting that Ritsu's not dressing like a woman anymore and is giving away his old dresses. Kinda wish they delved into that a little more. Ritsu's funny, but he had the potential to be so much more than he was. The next stop on the farewell tour is Kisa and Hiro, who walk along the same stretch of road that almost all of their scenes take place at, and discuss how it's sad that Shigure's house is going to be empty and whether it's going to be torn down. Hiro goes on to say that he doesn't know for sure, but he hopes that it's not going to be empty for too long, perhaps hinting he wants to go and stay there when he's in high school. Kisa then does her best Toru impression and starts weeping because Toru's leaving the next day and she'll miss her, but that she'll see her off with a smile. To which Hiro pulls her super close, like really intensely close, and tells her that she can cry if she wants. I don't know, it was cute, but it felt very unlike typical Hiro, so it comes across as trying a little hard there. Then, over at Kazuma's dojo, Haru tells Rin and Momiji about how Shigure was laughing because Hattori had told him one of the younger Zodiacs was very likely to punch him in the face because of all his manipulation and scheming. But in the end, he'd won because nobody ended up doing it. Momiji then says that the reason that nobody punched him is because they're all so grown up compared to him, before quite ironically going on a rant that proves otherwise, complaining that Kyo's taking Toru away, wishing he could pinch Kyo, and wanting to get a girlfriend so he can go and visit the two of them and make them feel envious. Yes, very grown up. Then the scene takes an emotional turn with Rin asking how the two of them can move on and forgive so quickly and easily after what Akito did. And this was a really good scene. I'm glad they had someone say it because it would really seem off if everybody just accepted Akito's apology even though she technically didn't apologize. Especially after how she hurt them and how she hurt Toru. She then breaks down saying that she can't forgive Akito and asks what she's doing wrong and whether she's letting Haru down. Of course he goes on to say that she'd never let him down and he could never hate her. Cute. Sad but cute. Hilariously, the scene then transitions to show Kazuma and for some reason Hanajima eavesdropping and discussing how despite it being over, many of the Zodiacs are still scared and hurt, but that in time they'll overcome it. They then walk off saying that everything's going to be just fine. And then we see Kazuma's assistant also eavesdropping and just freaking out. But what about? Is he freaking out about the possibility of Kazuma and Hanajima? Or has he only just realized that these young people that hang out at his dojo have been abused for half their lives? Maybe both. But then again, Kazuma's got to be what, like 40 plus? And Hanajima's like 18? So I could also understand him just being freaked out about that. We then move on to Uetani's apartment, where she's also packing up preparing to leave, building off her conversation with Kurano a couple episodes ago. Speaking on the phone, she talks about how she's sad that Toru's leaving with Kyo, but is excited for their journey nonetheless. She also talks about how it's time for her own adventure, and we see Kurano getting ready for her arrival in a little house by what sounded like the ocean with the bird noises, but actually looked a bit like a lake to me. Regardless, good view. After quipping that he'll prepare sober for her arrival, calling back to their first date, we say farewell to them and move on. And I'm glad that storyline got a happy ending. Although, I'm not even sure if any characters got a sad ending. Except for Ren and Kyo's dad, but who cares about them? We then had a fun little scene with Mine and Aime preparing a care package for Toru, complete with maid outfits. And there's not really much to say about this scene other than it was fun and refreshing and a good farewell to their characters. Plus, the dress they plan to give Yuki to wear made me giggle. This was followed by another short little scene with Hattori and Mayu where they discuss going to Okinawa on a holiday. With Mayu finding the idea of Hattori in casual summer attire funny, with Hattori unleashing a rare joke, comparing Mayu's figure to a tall pancake. What a kind boyfriend she has. But good growth to see him making jokes, even if they are minuscule ones. We then move on to Shigure and Akito, with Akito sporting significantly longer hair than before. They talk about how Akito's not going to the send-off for Toru, likely due to the fact that she thinks she wouldn't be welcome with some of the others, and that she can go and visit Toru herself when she misses her. And it's good to see that everything isn't just a-okay hunky-dory just because she feels bad, and that she still feels like she has more work to do to make things better. And also, my suspicions about Shigure wanting to be a sugar baby and do no work at all seem to be true. Then we get to see Kyo and Yuki's final interaction in the show with a brief and cordial conversation, which ends with a good old stupid cat from Yuki. Although then Kyo says stupid rat instead of damn rat and kind of wrecked it. Typical Kyo being inferior at every turn. Yuki then moves on to find Toru and tells her he's sad she's leaving and that he's heard his final welcome home from her. And yeah, that's actually one of those sad realizations, I guess. Man. And then he says he's happy for her and for himself as well. That before he met her, he was weak and unable to connect with the world no matter how much he wanted to. But then she came along and granted his deepest wishes and gave him unconditional love, like a mother. And that most of the others feel the same way too. Except probably Kyo, because that would be troubling. And that no matter where they go and what adventures they have, they'll always think of her. And whether she's doing well, and whether she's happy that day. And it harkens back to what Kyo said about Kyoko. So I guess that was his mother figure like Toru was for the others, so he didn't need one in the same way. And I just found that to be an interesting parallel. He then tells her that she changed his life and thanks her, finally using her first name. And the fandom wept. We then flash forward decades into the future to see a little girl running through the house calling for her mum, asking her where Toru and Kyo are. First naming your grandparents. I don't know, I'm with the mum here, it feels wrong. Not even rude, just odd. But it is very Toru to tell her own grandkid to call her by her first name. It's quite on brand. Toru and Kyo's son then tells her that they went out on a walk to be alone together, and we cut away to them walking hand in hand. And then we get the final pan over all the special ornaments Toru's kept. The hat, the photos of her family, the zodiac figures, and Kyo's beads. The credits roll, and your heart drops as you don't see the title screen of the next episode. And it's all over. Forever. God, now I'm empty inside. At least there's that prequel coming. I am excited, but it's not really the same as returning to Shigure's house with the gang every week. And then that's it for reviews on Fruits Basket. And thanks for tuning in. I really enjoyed diving into them all with you. And I'm sure there's going to be more to talk about when we have the prequel release and hopefully some more future content. But now I want your opinion, not just on the episode, but the whole show's run. Did it live up to the hype? Disappoint you? What if you've read the manga? Do you feel satisfied with how it was adapted? Make sure to leave a comment and let me know.